From Rustlord arriving on the island as an NPC to Naruto and corrupted teddy bears, there's a lot to talk about in today's video. What's going on, champs and champettes? It's FireMonkey here, and I'm going to be your guide to the final update of Chapter 2, Season 8, v18.40. In today's video, we'll be talking about things we know based on the files that should come in this final update, and we'll also be talking about simpler things such as bug fixes and what we just know based on what Epic Games has officially announced. So without further ado, let's start off by talking about the Rustlord NPC. That's right, the king of the scrap heap, Rustlord, is coming to the Fortnite island in v18.40. And the reason I am so confident on him being the final NPC to release in Chapter 2 Season 8 is simply put because they have everything done. They have what he sells done, they have his dialogue done, his description, and everything. So let's start off by reading his description. Rustlord's latest pet project, recycling scrap into something new and purposeful. Though, honestly, I think he just likes spending time amongst the scrap. And as I talk about Rustlord and all this other stuff theorizing what they could be related to, you'll see the dialogue on screen. This is just to give you some ideas of the services and dialogue they provide. So with that said, let's start off by saying what you can see, which is the services. You'll be able to purchase a prop disguise, they will give you a punch card, and you can buy metal from them. So, you know, 3 simple services, all that definitely relate to Rustlord, especially since they want to be amongst the scrap. It just makes sense, you know, buy a prop disguise to be the scrap yourself. Anyways, with this said, I do want to mention something interesting based on the description of Rustlord. As we know in v18.40, we should get the mech funding, the salvaged mech voting system, where we just basically give our bars to fund the mech. Maybe the funding is being done under the hands of Rustlord, while JB Champansky, you know, collects the money. Rustlord's actually out here combining the scrap together in order for us to get these salvaged mechs, and it just kind of makes sense based on the description of this being Rustlord's latest pet project. Anyways, if you're just listening to the video and you're not watching the video, I'll quickly go over the dialogue. So the first interaction ever with Rustlord, they will say, "If you're looking for Rust, I'm your lord." If it's been a while since you've last spoken to Rustlord, they'll just say, "Welcome back to the scrap heap." If you talk to Rustlord while having a very high bar count, they'll mention that all those bars will be scrapped someday, which kind of leads into this theory of maybe the salvage mech is one of Rustlord's projects, you know, scrapping down the bars in order to actually make the mech. The default message, basically, if you don't meet any of these, so you know you've just already talking to them, it hasn't been a long time, you know, it will just say, "Hey, Scrappy." If you're purchasing metal, they'll say, "Can you recycle these?" And then if you purchase a prop disguise, they'll say, "Hide amongst the beautiful scrap." So it's definitely interesting to see some more lore, or just like some characteristics to Rustlord we didn't previously know, and to see that he just really loves scrap. Anyways, with that said, it's time to hop over to the Naruto zone, where we can talk about our potential first look at the new skin. You can see an image on screen right now, and this is actually up at a, I think it's like a subway train station down in Japan, and I could be wrong about this because obviously I'm not the one who took the photo, but as you can see, it's basically hyping up the collaboration between Fortnite and Naruto on the 16th, but it also shows an interesting image of the skin itself. Now, the reason why I highly believe that this is the skin itself is because it just is in a very interesting art style that feels very Fortnite-y. So for today's question comment of the day, I want to know down below, do you think the image they're showing here is an actual in-game image of what the skin will look like when we get it on the 16th? Or do you think it's just another one of those promo images and it will look completely different once we get it in-game? Now, of course, you know, I can't just talk about stuff like Naruto and all this cool stuff without talking about even more unvaulting events and how we're going to be able to fund the return of one of 2 items. So as you guys know, we have the mech funding station, but there is still one more unfunding battle to be done, and that is the proximity grenade launcher versus the flint knock. And now something interesting that I noticed back in the the first update ever, V18, basically Chapter 2 Season 8, is that the flint knock pistol they use for this funding is an epic rarity version, which we've never seen used in game. We've never had an epic rarity of the flint knock pistol that's been available for us to use. We've just had uncommon and common, and then we had, you know, the mythic version, the flight knock, whatever you want to call it, from Laser Beams LTM. So that will be very interesting to see which one we actually are going to end up unvaulting based on what the community decides. And also, it's going to be interesting to see how it only lasts like a month, you know, a little bit under a month, depending on when they release this unvaulting vote, simply because it's like, hey, the season's already coming to an end, guys. Like, we're less than a month away from the very end of this season. And it appears that Epic Games is aware of this and also working on a special bonus punch card for us to do called the Wrap-Up. And it only makes sense to do the Wrap-Up punch card in the very last update of the season. So you can see the quest line on screen right now, but it is very interesting how it mentions that you have to first save corrupted teddy bears, visit a mountain peak, boost the signal at places of transformation, dig up items of transformation, and then bring the chair back into phase. Now, I feel that this is just interesting, right? Like, you can see the dialogue, the completion text, and all the actual, like, personal NPC dialogue below the actual names, but bring the chair back into phase. Is this us finally taking that chair that shrunk over the seasons and then started growing this season and bringing it, like, is the chair related to the storyline now? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show an image on screen, but basically there's this chair that has been shrinking over time, and it's just continued to shrink until it was like super small, you wouldn't even be able to see it, and then it started growing recently. So maybe it growing, was it being taken out of phase due to the Cube Queen's disturbance? I don't really know what's going on here. All I know is we're gonna get some free XP. And of course, you know, this isn't the only punch card we're aware of, because there is a second one being worked on called Vampire Diaries. You can see it on screen right now, but it's a second quest line to Dusk that currently only has 2 challenges. However, they have coded in like support for all 5 of them, so it appears that this is definitely something that they're either going to bring in the game next update, or they'll just end up scrapping. But something very interesting in it is a brand new hideable prop that we have not seen yet, which is a coffin. As you can see by the first challenge, you have to sleep in a coffin for 5 seconds. I did like some data mining, digging around in the files, and yeah, they literally mean like an actual coffin. So like, you know how you would jump into a porta potty, you would jump into a garbage can, you would jump into hay bales? It seems that they're trying to find more like different ways of us jumping into stuff to hide in by adding this coffin, so maybe we'll see it in the next update. They also mentioned that you have to tend to dusk wolves for 30 seconds. I don't really know what this one means. Like, maybe you have to like tame a wolf and then just vibe with it for 30 seconds and then it completes. We really don't know, but I thought I'd bring this up since it is potentially another bit of what's happening in v18.40. But with all of this said and me rambling on about Naruto, mechs, and all this other stuff, we haven't even discussed what bugs are being fixed next update, so let me plop those on screen right now. We have a very small bug fix update, and I mainly think this is because the majority of bugs they're planning to fix are going to be fixed in v19.00, whether that is Chapter 2 Season 9 or Chapter 3 Season 1. It appears that that's where they're going to be focusing on putting most of their bug fixes, as they have a lot set to be fixed in a future update, but only 2 set to be fixed in the next game update, being that the collection book entries disappear when using performance mode, and vehicles may desync when a player exits the vehicle. 2 very small bugs, but 2 impactful bugs, because I have heard a lot of questions regarding the whole performance mode collection book issue, and vehicles desyncing is just a major issue overall, so it's nice to see these 2 at least getting fixed before the end of the season. And now, before we go into our final topic of today's video, which is going to be a little bit of a theory, speculation of what's going on, I do want to mention that we have 2 event code names named Guava and Haven that are being worked on, so if we do see a live event, we should expect a leak of one of these playlist names being re-added to the files in v18.40, but considering the fact that throughout Chapter 2 Season 8 we've seen 2 different event code names, it seems highly likely that we might get an event this season, or at least they've been working on some behind the scenes. But anyways, with that said, it's time to talk about the final topic, which is a little bit of theory speculation about something I found in the files and actually never talked about. So let me show that image on screen right now. For a season being based around cubes and everything, it's interesting to see that when they added the hidden character tokens for the Cube Queen, we also got 2 tokens that were also in this hidden character folder for Dark Bomber. And now this wasn't just like, hey, here's a placeholder token or anything. They actually had a special gameplay tag for this, and it was for the 3rd and 4th quest for Dark Bomber. However, we haven't seen a Dark Bomber NPC this season, we have no signs of one coming, and it's just like, this came out of absolutely nowhere, and I have no clue what's going on. But considering the season is very cube themed, and as you guys know, Dark Bomber is related to the cube aesthetic, maybe we can see them coming out sometime in v18.40, whether that be as a boss, whether it be an NPC NPC with a punch card, or if it's some bonus rewards that come out of absolutely nowhere, we don't know. I just thought I would share this with you guys because I've had my mind wrapped around it for the longest time, and I just haven't tweeted about it because I haven't had solid information to say. All I know is that there's these 2 tokens for quest line 3 and 4, and that's it. So with that said, my name is FireMonkey. If you enjoyed today's video, found it informative, consider subscribing to support content I create, and I will catch y'all tomorrow with another video. Peace out.